Before we talk about ADHD, focus, or learning differences, I want to share something personal because this conversation matters to me in a very real way. Welcome to Raising Scholars. I'm Jacquie Langworthy, an educator, center owner, and mom who raised two confident, independent scholars. This podcast is about helping parents understand how learning actually works without fear, pressure, or shame. When I was growing up, concerns about learning differences weren't always addressed. Often, they were quietly ignored, not because parents didn't care, but because there was fear. Fear of labels, fear of shame, and the hope that maybe it would just work itself out. I was never officially diagnosed with ADHD, but I am dyslexic, and I've learned how to live with it. Dyslexia isn't something you grow out of. You adapt. You develop coping strategies. You learn your patterns and your trigger words. As a child, though, I didn't have language for what I was experiencing. We didn't have Grammarly. We didn't have AI. There wasn't technology quietly fixing mistakes in the background. So for a long time, I internalized the struggle. I started to believe I wasn't smart, even though I was. I remember watching an episode of The Cosby Show that talked about dyslexia. And for the first time, I saw myself. The same patterns, the same mistakes, the same frustration. That was my aha moment. I realized I'm not the only one. But even with that realization, there was still shame. I remember being anxious about reading out loud in class. I would read the paragraph ahead of time over and over, trying to memorize it, trying to make sure it sounded right in my head. And when it was finally my turn, 9 times out of 10, I would say a word or 2 or 3 incorrectly. I'd say Brian instead of brain, united instead of untied, does instead of does. I had teachers who thought I was trying to be funny, but I wasn't. In my mind, I knew the right answer. I could see it clearly. My brain just expressed it differently. That experience is a big part of why I do what I do today. I work with children because I see them. I see kids who are capable, creative, and bright, but struggling quietly. And sometimes what they need most, especially early on, is someone to say, "You're not broken. You just learn differently, and you can do this. Trust me, I know." Over the years, what I've learned, both as a parent and an educator, is that learning struggles aren't about effort or intelligence. They're about regulation, support, and structure. That's why in this podcast, we focus on things like consistency, independence, and building confidence through evidence, not pressure. So if you're a parent listening and wondering whether focus might be a part of your child's struggle, here are a few things to notice without jumping to conclusions. You may notice your child having difficulty sustaining attention on effortful tasks, or a strong frustration when work feels overwhelming. There may be periods of intense focus followed by mental fatigue, or they have challenges with organization or follow through. These aren't character flaws, they're signals. And I often get questions from parents about whether I notice similar patterns when I'm working with children in the classroom. After more than 15 years and over 3,000 students, I do sometimes recognize certain patterns. Whenever I do notice something that stands out, I make it a point to let parents know what I'm seeing. I always remind families that I'm not a psychologist or a pediatrician. So it's important to connect with your child's doctor if you have concerns. But my goal is to share observations that might help you have a fuller conversation with your pediatrician if and when you need it. So in an upcoming episode, I'll be sitting down with a pediatrician who is also a parent in my center. Her son has been diagnosed with ADHD, and we're going to talk honestly about what the journey has looked like from a parent's perspective and a medical one. Not to tell families what to do, but to help parents feel informed, supported, and less alone. If this topic feels close to home, you're not imagining it, and you don't have to have all the answers right now. I'm glad you're here, and I'm grateful we're having this conversation together. So if this episode resonated with you, share it with another parent who might need it. And thank you for listening to Raising Scholars. See you next time.